Dear brothers and sisters, let us continue the book reading Reality at Dawn, written by Babuji Maharaj, chapter Religion. India has achieved political freedom, but self-independence or the freedom of soul is still wanting. The main obstacle is the want of capacity for a broader vision and free thinking. The whole atmosphere is surcharged with prejudice and rivalry. The entire structure of society and culture rests on the same foundation. Sectional jealousies are the main cause of the downfall of our civilization. There are at present no less than 3,000 castes in India, each forming a distinct unit. These castes were originally the different guilds of workers and artisans organized in order to solve the question of division of labor. But today, each guild tries to cut itself off from the rest of the community, forming a separate independent unit, harboring feeling of hatred and jealousies towards the other. The whole society is thus proceeding towards disintegration. The time is now at hand when this evil shall soon cease to exist. Nature is at work to put an end to this evil. The scythe of time is unsparing. Let this serve as a warning to the ardent supporters and advocates of the caste prejudice. Here, Babuji Maharaj is saying that though our country, India, has achieved political freedom, but it has not achieved the freedom of soul. That means still it has to achieve the freedom of soul. So why it has not achieved that freedom of soul? If we start thinking about that, then we can find the obstacle. The main obstacle is the want of capacity for a broader vision and free thinking. So, our narrow-mindedness has become the obstacle in the path of freedom of our soul. Next, this whole atmosphere is filled with prejudice and rivalry. Why? Because lack of broader vision or broad-mindedness. And then the entire structure of this society and culture are resting on the same foundation of hatred, jealousy, and envy. So, sectional jealousies are the main cause of the downfall of our civilization. There are at present not less than 3,000 castes are there in India. Each caste is forming a distinct unit and they are making themselves separate from other castes. So why this is happening? Actually, what is the main purpose of framing this caste system in our country? These castes were originally the different guilds of workers and artisans organized in order to solve the question of division of labor. Because to identify a set of people who are doing a particular job or work, they had been named with that caste, what is presently separating a man from the other. And today, each guild try to cut off its relationship or itself off from the rest of the community, forming a separate independent unit. And because of this, the feeling of hatred and jealousy towards the other is harboring. In toto, the whole society is now proceeding towards disintegration. And now time has taken charge to completely vanish this evil. So, nature is at its work to put an end to this evil. And Babuji Maharaj is saying that the scythe of the time is unsparing. That is, now the time is using its tool to completely end this evil. So, the impact of it will be unbearable. Dear brethren, today we are all the spectators of this nature work. Today, what is going on in this entire world is nothing but this only. And this serves as a warning to the ardent supporters and advocates of the caste prejudice. That's what Babuji Maharaj is saying. Let us read further. They cannot escape the consequences unless they mend in time. The will of God must have its course. Prejudice is the greatest evil, rather the deadliest poison to the spiritual life. It keeps one confined to himself, losing all access to a broader vision. It creates narrow-mindedness, and all prospects of development and progress are lost to those who pin their souls to it. Prejudice breeds hatred towards others, and it is nothing but a feeling of false self-superiority in a disguised form. If you nurture this evil, you thereby add one more link to the existing chain of egoism. Consequently, you remain farther away from reality. The realization of the limitless thus becomes an impossibility. Universal love, the very fundamental basis of religion, having disappeared altogether, the religion which was generally considered to be a link between man and God has now become a barrier instead. If we keep ourselves bound fast to a particular form or practice without a clear idea of its real significance and final approach, we are probably committing the greatest blunder. God is not to be found within the fold of a particular religion or sect. He is not confined within certain forms or rituals, nor is he to be traced out from within the scriptures. Him we have to seek for in the innermost core of our heart. Here, Babuji Maharaj is telling that those supporters and advocates of the caste prejudice, if they mend themselves in time, it is better for them. Otherwise, they cannot escape the consequences. Because the will of God must have its course. So, whatever that has to happen according to the will of God will definitely happen. Now, Babuji Maharaj is saying about the prejudice. Prejudice is the greatest evil and is the deadliest poison to spiritual life. So, being a spiritual aspirant, one should be very careful regarding this. We should never develop prejudice regarding anybody, because it keeps us confined to ourselves, losing all access to a broader vision. So, it creates narrow-mindedness, and all prospects of development and progress is seized to the people who attach themselves to it. Prejudice, it breeds hatred towards other people, and it is nothing but a feeling of false self-superiority in a disguised form. That means if a person think about others very low, or then it shows that he is feeling about himself superior, isn't it? That's what Babaji Maharaj is saying. If you think that others are wrong, that means you are feeling within yourself that you are right, isn't it? So what is this? This is nothing but the self-superiority in a disguised form. So if anybody nurtures this evil, thereby it adds one more link to the existing chain of egoism. And further, that person remains farther away from reality, because what is needed to realize God? Not even an iota of ego should exist within him. That is the criteria. If we go on adding links to our existing chain of egoism, then is it possible to realize God? No. Consequently, it makes us to remain away from reality. The realization of that limitless, that infinite thing, that becomes an impossibility for us. So, dear brethren, what is needed to realize God is universal love, the very fundamental basis of religion. Now, unfortunately, it has disappeared altogether, and the religion which was generally considered to be a link between man and God has now become a barrier instead. Why? It's because of prejudice. And further, if we select a particular form of practice without a clear idea of its real significance and final approach, then probably we are committing a great blunder. So, we must be very cautious while selecting any spiritual practice, and that spiritual practice should lead us up to that highest level of approach. And Babaji Maharaj is saying the following sentences, which are worth of writing in gold. They are: God is not to be found within the fold of a particular religion or sect. He is not confined within certain forms or rituals, nor is he to be traced out from within the scriptures. Him we have to seek for in the innermost core of our heart. See how beautifully Babuji Maharaj has revealed the truth. Because we cannot find him in a particular religion, or we cannot confine him within certain forms or rituals, nor he can be traced out from within the scriptures. So where we have to search for him, we have to seek for him in the innermost core of our heart. So our heart is the temple of God. Let us all search him in the innermost core of our heart. So dear brethren, with this great message of Babuji Maharaj, I conclude today's satsang. Let us know more aspects in the forthcoming satsang. Till then I take leave. Pranams. Namaste.